Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Legends of Tomorrow episode 8 video. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. You may have recognized a couple things during this episode, at least thematically. They were paying homage to the horror films from the 1930s to the 1950s from RKO Pictures. Like for instance, the nth metal meteorite is kind of an Easter egg from The Thing from Another World. If you remember the movie The Thing, most people just remember John Carpenter's version of that movie, but his movie is actually a remake of a 1951 movie called The Thing from Another World. So there were a lot of things like that in this episode. The actual title of the episode, Night of the Hawk, is taken from an RKO film from 1957 called Night of the Demon. As you can see, these are the demons. But if you watched any of those classic horror films, you'll probably see some familiar bits. But the other really cool thing about this episode, I don't know if they planned it like this when they were planning the episode, but the person who directed the episode, Joe Dante, also made both Gremlins films, Inner Space, The Burbs. What was the mystery of The Burbs? This really idyllic community with something really crazy going on with one specific family and something really gruesome happening in their basement. Vandal Savage keeping the nth metal meteorite in his man cave down below his house. So there's just like a lot of meta things going on with this episode, both behind the scenes and both in the actual story. Those are actually pretty much most of the Easter eggs. There weren't a whole lot of comic book things going on, mostly just Easter eggs from those classic movies as well as the 80s horror. So let's do top 5 WTF, starting with number 5. The crew is starting to feel the negative side effects of time travel. I feel like they're setting something up for a future episode. Something really crazy is going to happen, like they'll have time traveled for too long and it'll tear them apart. But after this week's episode, they got left in 1959, so I'll explain what's happening in the next episode because there will be a 2-week break. And I feel like eventually one of the other crew members will go crazy from having spent too much time traveling. If this were Doctor Who, they would actually start to get charged with the same type of energy that powers the TARDIS. Number 4 WTF. They just happened to run into Vandal Savage walking alone in the woods looking for a meteorite. So they don't really explain how Vandal Savage found that meteorite, only that it was calling to him, so maybe he was somewhere in America, but I think it's totally hilarious that he's just out walking in the Vancouver woods somewhere. It's almost like a classic X-Files episode where you happen to be out in the woods with your friends and you come across a crazy guy with a meteorite. Most of you are familiar with the cartoon versions and the comic book versions of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Nth metal is also a metal that they use to make their armor, make their mace. It also gave them their powers like they explain in the episode. Now Vandal Savage also got his powers from a meteor, but it's a different kind of meteor in the comics, but you get the idea. Mutagenic properties just twist people in different ways. That's why it was literally turning all these people into hawks. Number 3 WTF, infiltrating the super racist, super backwater town. So we have no idea where this is. It's just meant to be this Mayberry type town, but I do like the way they put that spin on it where it's like, yeah, if you're not a white male, you're not going to be very popular here. They get a couple digs into Martin Stein. Oh, I loved it when I was this age. I had a bike just like that. Oh, it was so nice. Well, yeah, you were a straight white dude, so of course everybody loved you. Number 2 WTF, Vandal Savage's swingers party. I love how crazy things got. Like, he was so nuts in this episode, getting his creep on John Waters style, just all up in Hawkgirl's business. I knocked him a little bit for telegraphing the end because the minute Hawkgirl was like, no, I'm gonna do this alone, I'm gonna go try and stab him alone, you knew she was gonna fail. The whole theme is that they have to come together as a team. So anytime one of them is like, no, I'm gonna do this by myself, you know it's gonna fail. And I'd say probably the number 1 WTF was Vandal Savage turning Jax into a hawk person. Part hawk, part firestorm. Hawkstorm. I would be interested to see what would happen if Hawkgirl could manifest her powers and join the Firestorm Matrix, if she would retain all of her powers, if it'd be like a burning hawk. I guess we'd have to call her Firebird or something like that. That would actually be pretty spectacular. But let me know in the comments, what was your favorite moment from this episode, and which classic horror films did you recognize in this? It was a little bit X-Files, little bit Stepford Wives, little Pleasantville, little bit classic horror. I guess you could think of all those hawk people as gremlins. After midnight, they all go crazy. Didn't see any of them get wet though, but I do really want to watch the old Gremlins movie now. So what's going to happen is, like you saw at the end of the episode, Kronos boarded their ship, so they had to take off. They're going to come back for the others later, but in the next episode, it will address what they do while the ship is gone. Because for them, time will move normally. we're going to see the return of Ra's al Ghul, the Matt Nable Ra's al Ghul from Arrow Season 3, from before Oliver killed him. But the way they explain it is that like Ray and Kendra go off and start a life together because it's still 1959 where they are. Sarah decides to go back to the League of Assassins, so that's how we see Ra's al Ghul again. But this is 1950s Ra's al Ghul, so I love the way that he's going to look the exact same because of the Lazarus Pit. They kind of explain that on Arrow with a few turns of phrase about how he just lived an incredibly long life. But get hype, and I know Captain America dropped earlier today. What's happening tomorrow is I have a new Daredevil teaser. I'll do a video for that, and then I have a Game of Thrones Q&A that I'm going to do. I need to announce the giveaway winner from that. And a lot of you have been asking about my Gotham video this week, but I think you may have missed that I started posting those on Facebook. I do have a Facebook page, I have Twitter, Instagram, all the links for that are at the bottom of the description. So if it seems like I've dropped the show, I'm probably just posting the videos on Facebook, so no worries. So while you guys wait for me to post that Daredevil video, you can click here to watch the Captain America trailer 5 billion more times, and you can click here to learn about how The Flash might end the series once it's done after like season 7. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.